Hello and welcome everyone. This is your girl Halima, and I welcome you to this yet another episode of our amazing show, TIG Agenda, here at UBC Radio. Today we are going to have a discussion about language and identity, and we are going to appreciate that language is just not about the words, but it is the mirror that focuses our identity, brings us back to our family roots, but most importantly, identifies us on what we can pass on today and our future generation. We are blessed with a very amazing panel that is going to be giving us insights of how language and identity are key and paramount to reviving the glory of our family today, but most importantly, our communities in general. I'll begin with the gentleman over here, Mr. Alvin. You're most welcome. Alvin is a student of industrial art. We are glad to have you at the show.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Over on the other end is Miss Benana Juma. She is a senior procurement officer and also a transformation growth coach. Miss Bena, you're most welcome.
Thank you.
And on my left, we have our Miss Tourism West Nile, Queen Shamaira. We are pleased and honored to have you on the show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And lastly, we have Miss Precious, who also is a journalist and media student. Miss Precious, you're most welcome.
Thank you so much, Halima.
Yeah. So, as I earlier on said, we're going to be discussing language and identity. Here at TIG Network, we appreciate glorifying or reviving the glory of family. So, we think language and identity are core to this. So we'll begin with Precious.
Yes.
What do you think is identity on a personal level? How would you explain to someone out there?
Well, on a personal level, identity is the way of expression, values, and belief. Just like you said earlier, we're looking at identity and language. So language is one key of identity, because identity, it being a fact of how you perceive things and what you believe in, this creates a different world to different individuals. That is why my identity is not Alima's identity. So in short, identity is a way of expression, what you believe in, what characterizes you, and your values.
Okay, thank you very much. Miss Bedna, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, thank you, Precious. Identity is who we are. I can give an example. If I have my ID, it identifies me. It has my name, it has my age, it has my background, it has my country of origin. That is, in simple terms, identifying who I am. Then I would also, in understanding who we are, I want the youths out there, people in the audience, to understand the different personality traits that we do have. They identify who we are. Me, I'm a sanguine. Okay, I may first tell you what they are. They are 4 personality traits. Some people are sanguines, some people are cholerics, some people are melancholic, some people are pragmatic. Those are different personality traits that make us different.
Yeah.
And understanding...
We all understand this word.
I'm going to explain.
Okay.
Yeah, so the sanguines are the people who are talkative, jolly, happy. When they come in the room, you know that someone is there. They can't leave the room minus you noticing who they are.
Okay.
So after my talking here, we shall identify a little bit of those, and we know who we are. Then the melancholic type are those people who like to be on schedule. They don't want to bend things. They want to be too straight of how things were. Then we also have the cholerics. Cholerics is a personality trait identifying with people who want to be leaders. They want to head, they want to be bossy. So when you that's a trait that some people have, and it identifies who they are. Okay. Then there are people who are phlegmatic. those ones are shy. So you identify that there are different personality traits, and in understanding who we are, we could have a mix of either 2 or 3 or 1.
Or all.
Or all. But there is always one that is dominant. Understanding who we are, I also went ahead and tried to search who is me. I already know who I am, but in that aspect, does that correspond with who I am? I noticed that me, I have 2. I am a sanguine and I'm also a melancholic.
Okay.
Yes, so when you look at my traits, I can be excited, I can be happy, but also on the other side, I can be serious. And that is who I am.
Quiet.
When my neighbor here could also have a different, if they examine who they are deeply into those different traits, you understand that you find out that they have a different, unique one. And in understanding identity and language, we don't want to overshadow who we are, because the way we are shapes our beliefs, makes us unique. Even in God creating us, he made us so different that we serve one another. You see how Queen is shining in that color.
Oh,
You see how Precious is. You see our moderator.
Halima.
You see this gentleman right here. We all different, but we shall serve our different purposes. So when we talk about identity, we do not want to dilute it. We want to just be who we are and serve in that aspect.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah.
That was great. I've learned something from the 2 presentations. She majorly speaks about the personal aspect, like the personal identity, and I think Miss Precious here spoke about the social aspect, the social identity. I think both are very important. Are there other types of identities that do exist? Because we want to incorporate all of them into community and how it is a fundamental aspect.
Well, Halima, if I'm to add something on what she just said, you can have different images, but you've got one identity. Just like she said, she can be sanguine and melancholic as well. Yeah. So those are different images, and these images appear to different people. Well, I can say when I'm at home, I'm very jolly, I'm very funny, I'm very noisy. I'm very stubborn when I'm at home. So that is an image that my family members have. So when I move to a different place or an environment, I've got another image. But then my identity is that person inside me that I alone know. And no one else can get to know your identity apart from you. So we can talk about identity looking at the tribe, maybe looking at the language, looking at the society we're coming from. That can define our identity. But deep inside us, there is a human being that I, Precious alone, knows, because I will show different images to different environments.
In other words, you're meaning uniqueness. There is a unique aspect about
a unique
you that
person.
You can't be me, you can't be him, you can't be her.
But we can have the ability to have the same identity, if I am getting it right.
We can have
according to her.
Okay, if we are all coming from Uganda, we can identify with our country.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That is our identity,
Yes.
but not our personality, not who we are.
That is
are
different
unique.
from the image.
Yeah.
Okay, Alvin,
Yes,
in
please.
regard to what the discussion is on, is language considered, why do you think language is considered a unique aspect? Because a unique aspect or fundamental aspect in identity?
Well, thank you so much. From my perspective, I look at language as a very, very important fundamental tool in identifying who we are.
Okay.
Because this is the only way that we get to express who we have, first of all, expressing our emotions, expressing our thoughts, our ideas.
Yeah.
And you realize that this is the only code that we use, all right, in personal standouts that nothing else can replace, all right? Looking at me, where I come from, I am a Langibai tribe, by the way. I grew up in a society where people didn't really speak much English, all right? So back then, my grandmother told me stories in my local language, all right?
Okay.
And these are stories that really got stuck in my mind. I've read a lot of books, but these stories, I've never seen them written anywhere. And most of the stories, like most of the books that I've read, I've forgotten most of the paragraphs. But because she spoke to me in our local language, I still remember a lot of things. So making language a very, very important tool in identifying who we are.
Okay, thank you very much. I love that you did speak about education, and that is going to bring me to our queen in the room. Yeah, so when we speak about tourism, we speak diversity, and when it is diversity, definitely culture is part of it.
Yeah.
So, in your context, do you think education has, in a way, hindered the identity of our children?
Yes, it has.
Okay.
In a way that I went to school, and speaking your local language was known as vernacular. And if they get you speaking vernacular,
You're punished.
you know,
Sorry,
you're
Bob.
punished, and you're okay. They used to have this too big bone, eh? But then it used to smell.
It was rotten.
Yeah, those rotten bones. Kati now, they make you wear the bone, and you have to work with it until you find another person speaking vernacular. Then you'll be like, aha, I've gotten you speaking vernacular. Then you hand over the bone. So I feel like education has really hindered our native language, and yes, it has.
It has.
Yeah.
Is there anything that the education system can do about that?
Yeah, teaching both native and the Western language is really an aspect they can consider. Then also creating up language camps, reading books in their native language to them, like from childhood till I think some certain age. Yeah, I think they can do that.
Okay. There are very many cases where you see the controversy of we need to understand English, because today to be educated is to actually know English and everything in the Western
Yes, true.
tribe.
I interacted with a Pakistan person, and trust me, they know both English and their language.
Okay.
Yes.
And that is not happening here?
No, in a way that some people like
Do you
Madam
not know your
Precious,
language?
like Miss Precious, just like I don't know Luganda.
I'm not Uganda.
But you're in Buganda.
I am in Buganda, but
Yes.
I don't even know my local language. So
You get.
how will I know Luganda?
You get
Okay,
it.
Precious, if I may, which languages are you well covered that with?
Well, I speak Kiswahili, I speak French, I speak Lingala and English.
And you're from?
I'm from DRC.
And you do not know
And I do not know Luganda.
your language?
And I didn't know my language. Well, I can say in Africa, we don't really value our languages, which is actually very wrong. And this is because our languages are not valued in schools. Because if you are to speak your language and then you're being punished for speaking who you are, it's actually something very wrong. Yet I remember in high school, whenever they brought English questions, they were like, if you want to understand this question better, understand it in your own language, because that is who you are. When you get to understand it in your local language, you'll be very able to answer the questions. But then our languages are not being given value in our own countries. If you're to go to Congo, we speak French. If you speak Kiswahili, you'll be flogged, you'll be punished, which is really killing our identity. And this is something that is not actually good when it comes to the education system in Africa.
Okay, has that in a way like affected you, like your day-to-day life? Do you think you have an initiative upon yourself to maybe learn your local language?
Well, it has affected me so much. Why? Because there was a time I went to a village, but I could not speak. I could not understand. And some people will say you're showing off why you're just speaking French. You cannot understand what they say. They can actually not teach you anything, because how will you interact when you're not understanding one another? So what I would say is we should have language activism.
Okay.
We should have
that is
these bigger
new.
conferences. Okay, learning who we are, because tradition is what makes us human. Because if I don't know what we practice, I don't know what we believe in, I'm living in a world of confusion. I don't know what the Western culture says. I just know maybe a 10% of it. And then when it comes to my culture, I know nothing. So I'm a confused person in this world. What stories can I tell if I don't understand who I am? So we really have to learn who we are, and this is by learning our languages, because through our languages we'll be able to interact and get to know more about life, about our past, our present, and how we can build our future.
Yeah, thank you very much, Precious. That was a good one. You're making an initiative towards learning your language?
Of course.
Okay, we'll get to that later. So, Alvin, in your understanding, what do you think families are doing differently that is limiting access, or rather is causing identity crisis amongst our children and the youth in general?
Well, I think our parents, all right, outside there, they really want children to catch up with the new trend of the world, because looking at the education system, things are changing each and every day. So parents don't want children to remain behind from that lane. And you find, like, at home, parents only speak to children these days in English, because they want to make these children understand the English language better than the local language where they really come from. And this has it has really affected. You find that a child, when he goes back to the village, like she said, she cannot communicate with their grandmother, like their grandparents, I mean.
Yeah.
And this brings a lot of gap between the relationship between the parents and, between the children and their roots, all right? And you find that one mistake that parents are really doing outside there, I would advise them to let these children speak their local language, all right? Teach them how to call a spoon, teach them how to call a jerry can, teach them how to, even me, I don't think I remember how to call certain things in my local language. Because, like, where I come from, we have, there is that sponge, like, there are two categories, right? Like, our language is divided into two. You find like there is a local language that I grew up knowing, but there's also another more indigenous terms and words used to call certain things, all right? And these are things that I wasn't taught, all right? So you find, like, when I go back down deep to my roots, my grandparents may communicate a phone by using a different word, and I don't understand, all right? And you find this kind of communication gap getting in.
Okay,
right?
For cases where, you'll forgive me, for cases where you do not know the staunch, because you see, I'm also Msoga, by the way, but in as much as I am proud and I do know the language, there are those very staunch words, conk, that I may not get. Does that in a way make me, like, limit the fact that I can identify myself?
Not basically. But looking at the aspect of like getting back to our roots, I guess there is no need of partially getting back to our roots. We have to get back to our roots fully.
Yeah.
All right. And this is very, very important, okay?
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. But I will ask, let's talk about the modern youth today and how they are creating languages. People are very passionate about learning these languages. Do you think it's actually advantageous? Is it a good thing to learn these new languages outside the local language?
Yeah,
in regard to identity?
Yeah, in regards to identity and these other different languages, I would say that it's very key that someone understand their origin. If I'm a Muganda, I should appreciate my language. I should appreciate Luganda and all the cultural aspects it has to give me. Because you guys, when you also talked about way back in school, when we are young here, we are taught Luganda. We are taught Luganda alongside English. We
Yeah.
don't learn only English. We learn the different subjects that we go through, and you study Luganda and you study English. But along the way, as you are
Especially lower
advancing,
primary.
yes, the lower primary as well.
Yeah.
I appreciated this so much. And that's where I learned my basic Luganda, like the writing. The speaking, I'm okay. But there is a level of the written and those other expressions that along the way, maybe I did not overtake, because in aspiring in the education system here, we went so much of the English. But right now at my level, my perspective is really different. I really appreciate that it's key that the young people, all of us, we take our own origin, our identity, our culture very serious, because I personally have learned English. I've also pursued the Dutch language. The Dutch is the German. So understanding the Germans also, I've got to appreciate that they value culture, that for you to work in their country, for you to work in München, for you to work in Berlin, the one of their requirement is you should know the language.
Yeah, that is true.
So what does that make me believe? It makes me believe that if they value theirs, I should value mine.
Yeah.
And I'm bound to tell my children that do not neglect, because in this era, just like you asked me, some people might think our local languages are outdated. They might think that you don't need them. You need them because when you see other people holding their values so tightly, you can't lose yours, because that's identity. We don't want to lose who we are, so we have to appreciate. And we see that even when the young people take on the different slangs, the different aspects of language, people are taking on Chinese. Precious said she wants to add on Chinese. I really appreciate. And one of the things that we are going to gain out of it, that we shall know our values and hold them so dearly, because we know that they've kept us and preserved our heritage. And also when we learn the other international languages, it will take us global. Ideally, that's why I took on Dutch, to learn the Dutch language, German. It's because I want to be global. If I want to speak on international conferences, I want to be able to express myself in the other languages. So it is very okay to know Chinese. It's very okay to know Germany. It is very okay. Actually, it's called Dutch. It's very okay to know French. It's very okay to go to know Swahili and all of those things, but to hold yours so tightly, because even in learning these other international languages, we've come to know that they ask you, how do you do things in your country?
Yeah.
They want to identify with you. They really want to appreciate what you hold as values. They don't want you to lose yourself in another identity, but they want you to appreciate who you are. So how about us? It is a wake-up call that, guys, come on. We learned English. It has taken us to another level. But who we are is very important, because it holds a lot of good indigenous values.
Okay, thank you very much, Bena. I love the fact that you spoke about the lower primary.
Yes.
Personally, I also did some Luganda and Lusoga in lower primary. I think it helps us better relate actually English and the local language.
And even the drama.
I must
There was a lot
say.
of drama that brings it clear that however much we pursued the English
I think
language,
we still have that in
the
MVD
drama,
of nowadays.
the poems, we could do that,
we-
and it made us learn a lot of our culture and language. We could have Lusoga, Acholi dances, and all of
and
that.
everything. I think that is also part of
that's-
embracing
yes,
identity.
Yes, it is.
Any chance,
so
Precious,
that
you
one,
had
we
that?
appreciate.
Well, we did. Okay,
Yeah.
like the only difference between Uganda and Congo is we speak French, you speak English, but then even in school we learned Kiswahili. we used to learn Kiswahili, but it was a burden to me. It was actually very hard. Why? Because the focus was on French. And there is no way we can develop our countries if we're not speaking who we are. You're speaking someone else in your country, of course you have that mentality of that person, because our language influences what we think. So there is no way I can think in French and think I will develop Congo. There is no way I can think in English and think and I feel like I will develop Uganda. That is why even when you're cracking jokes, like when you're having fun, it is so funny when you're speaking Luganda. When I see Ugandans speaking in Luganda, the conversation sounds so funny and people have fun. When I'm speaking Kiswahili, I can speak anyhow. And that is why you come to see that vulgar words in our languages, there is no way you can speak them out, but you can speak in English what you cannot speak in Luganda maybe, and what I cannot speak in Kiswahili, because that is who you are. I don't know whether it happens sometimes, because in Kiswahili, the vulgar words I can speak in English, I cannot say that in Kiswahili because I feel like it's too much, so I cannot bring it out, and it's very heavy. So
attachment.
That brings, I think, talks about cultural dignity and preservation. Yeah, which is a very beautiful thing. We're going to be having a short break, and when we return, we'll delve into the cultural diversity, cultural dignity, most importantly, and how family can help us implement this identity crisis and stopping it. Thank you very much. We'll be right back.